Oh, hi. How you doing? Welcome back to Deep and Meaningfuls with Furzy. This is episode 11. Double digits. You beauty. Now, there's three things that I love in life. Pancakes, the sound of the ocean, and a good deep chat. And I got a good deep chat for you. I'm sorry I don't have any pancakes. Maybe you can make some pancakes after the podcast or during the podcast. So in 2017, I was cast in a movie called I Can Only Imagine. It is based on the song of the same name that was written by a band called Mercy Me, and it's based on the life story of the singer, whose name is Bart Millard. And I play the bass player in the band. He's named Nathan. I'm chatting with Jason Burkey, or Burko, as I call him, who plays Mike, the guitarist, and John Michael Finley, or John Boy, as I call him, who plays Bart, the singer, the lead role of Bart. Now, I'm going to be mates with these guys until the end of time. It was such a joy to get paid to hang out and pretend to play music with such good dudes. They're just good, quality dudes. They're really good people. I love them. So I thought, let's have a chat about the movie, which, by the way, was a pretty much fantastic experience all around. The cast was great. The directors were wonderful. The crew was great. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. We all did. Now, when you hear us talk about Andy, he's one of the directors, along with his brother John, the Irwin brothers, Andy and John Irwin. And also when you hear us mention Randy, he is the actor who plays Jim, the keyboard player, one of the funniest people I've ever met. Please forgive the audio quality of this podcast. We had all of the technical difficulties in the world. The boys were in Georgia, in the States. I'm here in Australia. We had to end up recording on Skype, so it just sounds like a phone call, but I did my best to clean it up, and you kind of get used to it after a while. Now, here is Jason Burkey and John Michael Finley.
That's how we got to know each other, isn't it? We've started, by the way.
It's wonderful to be here.
Sure is.
That was nice and smooth. That only took 55 minutes.
55 minutes.
You know what? I thought it would take longer, so I feel pretty proud of us.
Yeah.
So, to get the worst quality recording.
Yes. Like you said, I'm the worst quality guest, so.
Yeah. Hi, by the way. It's been a long time, fellas.
Missed you, buddy.
Man, so long.
Yeah.
We have aged.
We're in dire need of a Waffle House date.
We really kept Waffle House in business, didn't we?
Our relationship is smothered and covered and peppered.
Diced and chunked.
So let's talk about how we met.
We did all meet at the same time because you guys didn't know each other before.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
So as I can only imagine, that's when we met.
And I will say, I thought, Mark, when we first met at that restaurant, I thought like, man, this guy looks cool. And I felt intimidated. I think based off of purely what you were wearing.
You had a beanie,
You had a beanie. There were some chains.
You look like you just walked off stage.
Different places. Yeah. And I don't know what I was wearing. Whatever a dad would wear.
I was probably wearing a Target t-shirt.
The only reason that I was wearing something that looked cool was because it was cold as shit.
Oh man. Yeah.
I've never been so cold in my life. We were in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, filming a movie. I guess we should say we were filming a movie.
We were?
Yeah. It was, what was the I remember I took a photo on my phone of the weather app, and it was minus 15 degrees Celsius, which is how the rest of the world does temperature.
Sure.
Which is
therefore I don't understand.
There were days where it was like in the teens.
But you know what I remember, Mark, whenever we would drive to set, you were training your body to not need a coat once you were in the car. You would take off the coat once we were in the car, and it's still freezing in the car. But you're like, nah. My body to get used to.
This is intentional.
Yeah. Because then you didn't want to wear the coat inside the car and be all warm and snuggly and then step back out into the cold again. So you were trying to trick your body, I remember.
No, I do remember that. I remember hearing somewhere that if it's in cold weather, you I'm Australian, dude. It doesn't get that cold here.
No.
So like I was all stressed out. What am I going to do? I might die. So I remember hearing somewhere that you should take your coat off when you come inside or go into a vehicle, because you can always warm it up, and then you need your coat when you actually need your coat. Because if you've got your coat on when you're in the car, then when you get out of the car, you're like, oh, it's cold again.
There's nothing to do. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So did it work for you?
I survived.
Yes. Mark, tell us how you booked that gig.
Yeah.
It was they just kept calling me and like, man, we want you to play the lead role of Bart in I Can Only Imagine. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm too busy.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't fit in the costume.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It wasn't that exciting. I just did an audition, and then
was there a callback?
Yeah, I did an audition, then I did a callback, and then I didn't hear anything. And I was like, all right, well, that one's gone away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was weeks. And then my manager called me and goes, hey, congratulations, big guy. We got an offer. And I was like,
you guys hear that accent?
That was well
spot on.
Spot on, LA.
That's why I got the part. And I was like, an offer? For what? Honestly, it had been like 6 weeks. I was like,
for your couch, man. Someone wants it. Someone wants to buy it.
It's some guy from Craigslist. Yeah. So, but he said for I Can Only Imagine the bass player part in that movie. I was like, oh, that's still alive. All right, cool.
Nathan Cochran is his name.
Did you play bass in your audition? Did you have to prove that you could?
No, I just talked. I was just like, yeah, I can play bass. I can lay scaffolding, whatever you need, man. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so that's how did it happen for you guys?
I sent the tape in.
But it was a chaotic time, right?
Yeah.
Your parents were visiting.
Yeah, I couldn't get to LA, so I sent in a tape.
Because you're New York based, right?
Yeah, and I only had Mondays off, and I didn't feel like that was enough time to like fly to LA. I'm sure people do it, but I was lazy. So I sent in a tape, and they happened to be in New York. They were on the East Coast doing stuff for another project. So they came and saw me in a show, and then we did a callback the next day at their like hotel ballroom in Times Square, and callback when I really got to know them, and I think we had a good time. And a couple of days later, I got the call. So it was super stressful, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So this was your first like off stage thing, right?
Yeah. I've always been interested in doing that kind of stuff, but never really got the opportunity. And it's tough to break in. You move to New York instead of LA, and you do, you do a lot of theater stuff, because you guys know it's sometimes you have to build some momentum.
Yeah.
And I never really put any time into film and television because I never really felt like I had the opportunity. And my agent sent me this, and I was like, oh, I know this. I know this song. I know this music. I know this band. I know this atmosphere. I know this time frame. Like everything was super familiar to me. So I just went for it. And my agent was like, you can't record this on your phone. You got to go like book a studio. She wanted me to hire on camera acting coach. And so I did like an hour session with an on camera coach, and that was really helpful. Mm-hmm. And then booked like an actual studio with a camera. And so I thought it was all completely unnecessary. And I was a little upset about it because, at that time, like that cost me a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I had like 12 hours notice, but it obviously paid off. She knew what she was talking about, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great.
What were your expectations of what like shooting a movie would look like, as opposed to like, man, the reality of it?
None, because I genuinely had never been on a set before in my entire life. So whatever.
That's crazy. That's a huge thing that you'd never been on a set, and then you get
super exciting, because the only thing is what you see in movies, which is about half correct. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really tried to get in that mental space where like you have zero expectations. You try to be open to everything, and they were super smart. The Irwin brothers and our producers, they were super smart about easing me into it, knowing that they had hired someone that had zero experience. Mm-hmm. So like my first 3 days on set, I don't think I said a word. I was just like walking across a bridge,
yeah.
reading a diary.
Yeah.
So it was, and then my first actual day with like dialogue and screen time was when we did the Oklahoma musical, which obviously I feel super comfortable on stage. So they were super
planned that out.
smart about
Yeah.
easing into it. And then by the time we got to the heavy stuff, I felt like I was ready to go. You know, it was still new and it was still strange, but I felt safe. They did a really good job of doing that.
That is very wise on their part, because it's not like we're a small part. You're in almost every single scene in the movie.
Yeah, I think we did. How many weeks of filming did we do? 9 or 10? Because we had a Thanksgiving break, we had a Christmas break. I was there for like 3 months, but I think we had 2 weeks off.
Yeah, because Burkey, you and I were only there for 3, right?
Yeah, you guys came and then left. We were there and came
3,
back.
I think.
Yeah,
I think I had 2 days off. I think I had 2 days that I wasn't filming in that 3-month span. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot, but it was my first time, so I didn't.
You had time to get into a groove, and
I was ready to go. Yeah.
And Andy, I remember talking to Andy Irwin, and he said his advice to you was like, just be you, man. Just like trust that what you got is.
That's what I really love about film. You know, in my very limited experience, is like I feel like what I do in the musical theater world is I become somebody else. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've made a career in not transforming, because that sounds really pretentious, but like, you know, you play a different character, and in the film world, I feel like they want you to be you, and you have to learn how to be comfortable being you. And I think they hired me. You know, I think I was expecting to try to become, you know, Bart Miller, but really it was like, nah, we just need you to be you. And so that was your
interpretation of this other guy rather than becoming another guy. I mean, the other thing too is it's, you know, you can be so much bigger on stage, whereas this is it's the nuance, you know, and it's very hard to genuinely have that nuanced. Like, there's not many actors in the world that can. You see him and you're like, wow, he's become a completely different person when you see him.
Right. Yeah, I think there's fun parts of both. I think it's fun to be something completely different. But I think it's just as hard to, you know, if you played Mark in a biography about your own life, like it would be really hard to play you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so
how well do you know yourself? You know?
Yeah. It's like, can you actually evaluate and step back and observe yourself in a genuine way? Yeah, no, it's weird. So,
I think a great quote, Sir Laurence Olivier, that said it, but it was something to the effect of, when it comes to character, you shouldn't ask, what must I become to play this person? It's, who does this character become because I'm the one who's playing it?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the three of us could all audition for the same role, and we are bringing our own life experience, our own perspective to it, and to trust your uniqueness and what you're bringing to it, you know?
And don't get me wrong. There are theater roles that theater is becoming a lot more similar to film. It's becoming more honest. It's becoming more nuanced, but there are still some very classic characters, famous musical theater roles that like, you're expected to fill that shape.
Yes.
How did you book?
So I worked with the Irwins. I've known them for 10 years now, and
you're a golden boy.
They've been kind enough to you know, throw me parts here and there on their stuff, and this
that's
one
why you're always
so
sucking up to the directors on set for the next role. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, are you kidding me?
Their new movie is the first movie.
Buying gifts left and right,
back massages.
Low back. Massage.
I do remember it was a bit of a crazy time. I just met my now wife, Callie. And I met you guys when I met my wife, which is crazy.
I like to feel like we're responsible.
You are responsible. But I remember I was in my bachelor pad in Midtown here in Atlanta, and got a call from Andy, and he was just like, "Do you play guitar?" And I said, "Definitely not."
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas you, Mark, were able to say like, "Yeah, here's what I do," and you know. And he's like, "Okay, well, we got this part, and You know, it's like playing a doctor on TV. You know, you got to just look like you know what you're doing. I'm like, okay,
I love it.
I know like 5 chords. I think I wrote a song for a girlfriend once back in the day.
They're no longer together.
It didn't work out. It may have been something to do with my playing.
Yeah.
So that was it. He's like, well, shoot us an audition if you can get us a tape, you know, in the next day or two. And I sent in a tape to them, and that was it. He's like, okay, let's do it. Can you be in Oklahoma tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, I was on my, I think 3rd date with Callie at the time when I got the call. And I was like, hey, I'm going to Oklahoma for almost a month, and then I'm going to Guatemala after that for a wedding. I'll see you in like a month and a half, but it's really great to know you. So Andy was like, don't worry. We got this guy who's going to sit down with you and teach you some guitar basics. And I thought he told me I had like 5 days with this guy. And I'm like, great. That's enough to get comfy. 5 days before we start shooting.
That's enough to start playing some Van Halen, you know?
Oh, are you kidding me? I'd be shredding by then. Yeah. So then those 5 days just turned into 1 3-hour session. That was it. That's all the training I got. He gave me his guitar, and I took it back to the hotel and just like slept with it.
You were really nervous about it, but you pulled it off, dude.
Oh my gosh. But you filled me in. You helped me.
Well, see, I just remember now. I actually auditioned for your role.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and then in the callback, Andy said to me, "Can you just go out and learn this other part?" And so I came in and just read for Nathan. He's like, and he was like, "That's
we really don't want to reach out to Jason. Just can you read for this other part? We don't want. He is last resort.
We don't want to have to do it, but we will."
I think I did hear. I don't know if this is true. I feel like it was that part originally was Jesse McCartney's.
So your part.
Do you know who Jesse McCartney is?
I don't want another pretty face.
Yes.
There you go.
You know.
Jesse.
He I don't know if he
dropped out for some reason,
accepted
right?
it. Maybe he was just like skating around it, but I think his manager pulled him out like a week before.
So we have his manager to thank for us being friends.
Exactly.
Isn't that funny how that happens? I had another role like that I probably was very lucky to get in a movie I did called Tell Me How I Die, and they were casting some like social media kind of guys. There was YouTubers that they were casting in it. There was this one guy who got in it. His name's Ryan Higa. He's got a huge YouTube channel, and they had another guy who's a YouTuber who was going to play my role. I auditioned. The director loved me, but then I got a call back and then I didn't hear anything. And I was like, my agent was like, look, man, the funding's coming from social media influencers and you just don't have a following. And I was like, I get it. It is what it is.
Right.
And then it ended up last minute. The director was like, I can't do it with this other dude that was going to play my role. He's like, because he can't act. So,
which is a big requirement.
I have to do that
for an acting role. It's like he's got a huge following on YouTube, but he's a terrible actor. So I ended up.
I don't know how it is with you guys, but like for us, it's super common, and a lot of times you don't know. You'll never find out. But I try to tell my friends that do find out, like, don't let it get to you. You know what I mean? I think because you hear all the time stories of famous actors either turning parts down or they were the 5th selection and they become. Yeah. You know, like I think Keanu Reeves was like the 5th selection for The Matrix, you know, and then like it was incredible. So I don't think it means anything, you know.
Like Back to the Future, they actually were filmed. They filmed like 2 weeks with Eric Stoltz, right?
Yeah, and really. Tom Selleck was meant to be Indiana Jones.
Really? Selleck?
Yeah. And then I don't know if they started shooting. They got real, like he was done. He was set, and then it didn't happen. So it's that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm glad both of you were there. You guys are my saving graces. It was a
long shoot for you,
but it was just a lot of new stuff. Yeah. It was also long hours. You know, I feel like we went into overtime every day that I was there, and I was not getting the sleep that I typically required.
That was partially our fault.
That was very much our fault. We didn't have much to do, Burkey.
Mark and I had so many vacation days in Oklahoma City.
Honestly, it was cold. It was the coldest that I've ever experienced anything. I was in middle America
because you're from Australia and then you like lived in LA. It's like, you have no clue. Yeah.
You hadn't experienced cold America yet.
Not at all. I hadn't experienced that culture. I hadn't experienced that weather. It was just like, I was just like this starry-eyed kid wandering around. And
it was, we had a lot of aerial views. It was like covered in snow. At some points we filmed the house that Bart, grew up in. That the set that we had was an old farmhouse that did not have heat, did not have anything like that. So, I mean, it was genuinely, everyone was in like Eskimo coats the whole time. You take them off, you film a scene, but we also filmed certain scenes that were summertime scenes. So, like and I'm fine. Cause like I got plenty of blubber, but like poor little, like you boys are both skinny, like, poor Madeline was skinny, Cloris Leachman, So there were people that were genuinely like frostbitten.
You lived in Chicago and New York. I grew up in Chicago,
that
but
was fine. Yeah.
You didn't stand a chance.
But it's also, like long days outside, a lot of outside filming because Oklahoma City was beautiful. We were so thrilled to be filming there. Besides the couple of weeks that there was snow, I mean, they got so much good footage of beautiful scenery in Oklahoma. That's one of the big reasons why they filmed there. So,
there was that little town that because we were in the hotel and then we had to drive for about 20, 30 minutes to get out through that little town where we did some of this. Was it the school stuff or was it the house? I remember driving through there and I was like, wow, we are just rural Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Especially
the house was,
both houses. There were two houses. There was like Meemaw's house and then there was Bart's house. Both of them were in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere. And there was a little town and I've heard you hear stories about this, but I was like, wow, there's actually a church on every corner. This is amazing.
Oh yeah.
I was genuinely like, wow, I didn't know this was real. I thought people kind of over exaggerated, but not at all.
They found a great location to film some church scenes where we did like when they first wrote Imagine, that scene that did it make it in the movie?
I don't think that did.
But that whole church was like it was really cool. Like it had that 90s vibe.
Yeah.
Cause I grew up in that environment and it was definitely like, the old wooden pews and the stage and like, it was definitely that type of vibe. I hope I'm not changing subjects, but I wanted to make sure I asked you, I want to know tell me why you started your podcast.
Yeah.
I'd love to know.
There's a few reasons. So the first one is that I listen to a lot of podcasts and
me too. I love it.
Yeah. And I like a lot of the kind of more conversational stuff because it's honest and it's organic. And I think that it's the complete opposite to what I grew up with, like with the radio and with panel shows. It's also contrived and it's bullshit. It's not authentic and it's all kind of pushing an agenda. Whereas in a podcast, you can hear people have two differing opinions and you can figure it out over an hour.
I like hearing people navigate through different opinions.
I agree. Yeah, totally. So that was a big reason. Another one is because I've listened to these podcasts and, you get quite familiar with these people and I felt like they were my friends. And then I kind of was like, oh, I have something to say here, but I felt like I was in a room with my friends and they were ignoring me.
They can't hear you. Yeah.
But so I was I started to get depressed. I started to get like, they'd make me sad. So I thought I need to actually start one of these. And then the other reason is I heard on Joe Rogan's podcast, he was talking about how much blessing it is. Yeah. How much of a blessing it's been for him to just be able to sit opposite someone he either knows or doesn't know at all and have an uninterrupted conversation with them for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. It's like that doesn't happen these days.
Right.
It's really healthy to get that human connection, whether it's, again, whether you're agreeing or disagreeing, you would not normally do that. And that's been really exciting to me.
I you said human connection. I think that's pretty close to the top of the list for me of important things.
I think listening to those type of podcasts that are very conversational and intimate, they've helped me ask better questions in my conversations in my day to day, I'm like, okay, this is Yeah, I got to get past the surface level here.
What I like about Joe is, and this is from his own mouth, he's like, I'm not an expert. Joe's like, I'm an expert in maybe one or two things. He's probably an expert in MMA and hand-to-hand combat. And he's probably an expert in
facing your
stand-up comedy. You know what I mean? Like, those are the two things that he would maybe consider himself an expert on, and that he'll really push back on people as far as like, shut up, I know what I'm talking about. But other than that, Joe, from his own mouth, he's like, you know what? I was that kid that just couldn't shut up. I like to talk and I like to ask questions. I like that his podcast is not edited. There's nothing wrong with edited podcasts, because I have a lot of favorite podcasts that are edited, but you feel like you're getting that kind of experience, that genuine experience, because there's no censoring, there's no editing, and it's just a conversation. And he just likes to ask questions. He's like, I'm just a normal dude. I'm not an expert. So I'm going to have experts on, and I'm just going to ask them questions. And there's something really, really honest and fresh about that. And I think that's been so successful.
He kind of plays I think why it's been so successful is that he's asking questions that we all want to know the answer to.
Yes.
So he's able to have a pretty impartial, logical mind.
I don't agree with everything he says, but for the most part, he's that. Yeah, he plays the audience, if you will. You know what I mean? When someone says something that sounds like bullshit, he's like, "Hey, that sounds like bullshit."
Yeah,
It's just something fresh about that.
That's it. Yeah. Totally. That's exactly why. It's been wildly fulfilling.
Good. Good.
Yeah, I really enjoy it, and I think that other people are enjoying it too. It's
I
nice.
Enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm learning a lot about myself.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it's fast, as you were saying, Burko. Like the way that I interact with people now is different. I've learned to become a much better active listener, because I don't want to do an interview. I want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So if we talk about something, instead of, because there's so many interviews where they'll ask a question, then someone will say something fascinating, and then they go, and then they go on to the next question.
Yikes.
You're right. Yeah, let's unpack that. Let's listen.
I wrote down 15 questions, but we only got to 2 of them because the second question was we got to some important, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Instead of just checking them off the list. That's so smart. I love that.
Yeah. So that's where that came from. Now, question number 5.
Ooh, go for it.
Right.
Did you have any, what did you want to accomplish? Like, did you have any questions or any topics you wanted to go over?
Well, what I normally do is I'll write down a few things that are like just talking points. And then normally, if I know the person well, the conversation just goes there and I don't even have to steer it into that. So
how close
are we're not lo-fi guests. We're high-fi.
And as you take the last swig of that beer, let's talk about heavy drinking.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So we thought it would be a great bonding experience when we first got there, because, it was cold, super cold. We didn't know each other, and we had a couple of days before we had to really do anything. So we went out and got blotto.
Smashed.
I don't drink very often, but I was like, when in Rome, right? And
that's how I felt. Yeah.
And so we go on the whiskeys. I've never drunk more whiskey in my life.
You boys told me this yesterday, and I didn't know. Like, I am a whiskey drinker. That until recently, that was my drink of choice. I didn't realize that I was either consciously or subconsciously peer pressuring you guys into drinking more whiskey. Like that's my jam. Like, like I like stuff.
It wasn't
too, but never on that scale.
You guys never put up a fight. So.
Well, you didn't have to twist our arm. You were like, "Hey boys, we're going to do some whiskey with some picklebacks." And me and Burko went, "Okay."
I had so many people warn me about the liquor laws in Oklahoma. So I think I went straight to the liquor store or Walmart and just stocked up. Got a handle of whiskey because I was nervous that they were closed 6 days a week.
Also, you're kind of at summer camp. Yeah. You were living in this hotel together.
Yeah.
And the days that you have off, or just after a long shoot day, and we're like, let's just go to John's room and unwind and have whiskey and chill. I don't know. To me, that was part of the bonding experience. And it is this weird kind of, I always call it summer camp, I think, when you're gone for that long. And it's like the rest of the world doesn't really exist while you're there.
Yeah. Well,
everything's on pause.
Because you would never do that. That's not an experience that you would choose as a holiday. Like, I'm not saying I didn't have the best time ever, but it's not why on earth would I go to Oklahoma City in the middle of winter for 3 weeks?
Have your own volition.
But that's what I wanted to bring up. Like, the circumstances were different. And now I want you guys to know that I felt comfortable with both of you pretty much from day one. Like, from the first conversation, I was like, I think these guys are going to be my guys. But I think another reason was like, you're on set in a city you've never been to, in a hotel you've never been in, working with people you probably don't know, hanging out with strangers, like, there's a reason, alcohol lowers inhibitions. And I think we got to know each other quicker and better.
And knowing the film crew too, like them going out because they want to relax after a long day. And it's like, I absolutely think that was probably healthy drinking, because we bonded so much over doing right. I will say, I think that is the most. I mean, it was a lot. Well, I mean, it's because I kind of realized when the weather is like that. Yes. And it's pretty flat in Oklahoma too. It's not like, I mean, the land is. It's not like there's hikes and stuff you can go on, and it was super cold. I remember thinking, I can get it why people can just drink, because it's like, when it's like this, what are you going to do? Yeah,
and we were three guys that had, from marriage to a long relationship to first date, but the three of us all had special ladies. Yeah. So we also weren't kind of going out chasing after ladies. Right. So the three of us were comfortable, like, hey, I don't have anyone to impress. Let's go watch Family Guy and have a drink. Right. You know what I mean? Like, which was really nice. I feel like if one of us were chasing the ladies, it probably would have changed that dynamic. I'm impressed, John Boy, how you managed to get, you had a lot of work. Bed every day.
Really am. Like me and Burko, you and I, we just went on breakfast dates every day at like 11 p.m. and we brunched, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but I have to be honest with you guys. It was easy until my last week, and only because I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. The last 2 weeks, like every day in the last 2 weeks, was overtime.
Well, we weren't there either, so you had.
Dennis was really, really great, but those were the heavy scenes. Right. Yeah. So it honestly wasn't until like the last 5 days of filming, it like hit me like a ton of bricks. Everything else before that, man, everyone made, like, you guys were so good to me. The Irwins and everyone was so good to me. I was also like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed because it was my first ever time, on a film set. So it was pretty chill, man. I was happy to get up. I was happy to, not to be away from my wife, but to be away from the busy streets of New York and to be off stage and to be trying new things. I don't know. I had fun. I had a blast. Yeah.
There's a different energy. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how depressing it is after you finish a show?
Yeah. Summer camp. I'm telling you. Yeah. I promise I'll write you. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a blue couple of weeks, isn't it? Like because it's such a high. Exactly. You make a new family and then done. And you can't even go back. It's not like you've left, but you can't go back because it doesn't exist anymore. No one's there.
In the theater world, you can never go back and live the same experiences, but like you can go back and do the same show. Sure. With the same people, or you can play the same part. I feel like that unless you're like, Captain America and you're doing Captain America 3, you can't really go back and play the same.
Yeah. And you're doing 400 shows a year.
Yeah. I also was super lucky that lucky as in I was employed. It didn't feel lucky because we rapped, had a rap party. And the next morning I had a flight to New York and started rehearsals for Book of Mormon. So I didn't have any time off, which is great. I'm not complaining. It's like, it's an actor's dream, but I didn't have a lot of time to look back and be like, I certainly missed you guys. And I'm
probably a good thing.
Yeah. No, I didn't feel that.
It's a double whammy because it's saying goodbye to people that you had such an intense experience with.
Yeah.
And then you now know, like, okay, start it all over. Like, either I'm unemployed or hopefully you're jumping on to the next project. But more often than not, it's like, I'm unemployed again.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Back to the grind.
That's probably part of the blues, right? You know what I mean? Because I've experienced that in the theater world, obviously. But yeah, I think part of it is like, I miss my people. Part of it is I miss working. And then the other part is like, now I'm unemployed. What's going on?
Again, you know, hoping the phone rings.
It really feels like, I remember my college or uni graduation that I remember it being so rushed and like, wait, how am I expected to say goodbye to everyone and not really see them again? And I just spent, and then it was so, I remember I was so overwhelmed by it all. And the whole concept of like, we're just supposed to say bye now? I was just like floored by it. Yeah. And that's how I have felt after every project that I've been there for a long spell.
It's a weird business, isn't it?
Yeah. It's such a roller coaster because you come into these things and there's a crew that maybe they know each other, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
Cast almost never knows each other. So you come in and you're so nervous and scared and it's all new. And then you all kind of learn about the situation together and you get so tight and then it's gone, done. And it's never to be seen again. And you're like, oh, yeah, it leaves a bit of a hole in your heart. And then you kind of, get back to being your own life again.
Do you guys ever have, do you ever have those moments where you're like, was I as close with them as I feel? Do you have those insecurities? Like I'll text you guys and I'll be like, are we creating a false relationship? Like, I hope not. Like, I really care about you guys, but is it, I always start to doubt myself. You know what I mean? Like,
are we as close as we were when we were filming?
And I fully believe like you're as close as you want to be, but I have those insecurities sometimes, with you guys, cause you're both sitting here, but with other friends and like fellow actors that you're like, yeah, we were roommates or we were co-stars on a show for 2 years, but
I get it. I know what you're saying. I agree. Well, it's hard to get a gauge on it because we're not in each other's presence anymore.
Exactly.
But the fact that we still have a group chat that we're pretty active on, 3 years later?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That obviously says something about it. But it's, you're thrust together with these people that you've never met before and you're basically living in each other's pockets, doing fake scenarios where you're being vulnerable and pretending to be certain emotions that you have to tap into.
Yes.
And then that creates some kind of connection and then it's gone again. And you're in friggin' London. I'm in Australia. Burko's in Atlanta. And we're like, you're thinking, was that even real?
Exactly. It's so funny. Once again, one of the weird parts of this business is like, there's so much superficiality. And I think the reason I feel so latched to you two is because I get such a sense of genuine depth and realness from both of you. But in the theater world, especially, once again, I don't have a lot of experience in the film world, so I don't want to speak for it, but like you meet so many best friends and then you leave and you're like, we're not best friends, man. You know what I mean? Like, or you meet somebody, I have so many good acquaintances, but how many like quality friends do I have? And that's a problem with my business. A lot of superficiality.
Do you think that might have something to do with the high of the performance?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Like there's a term that everyone uses. Like showmance. Like when you're playing Danny in Grease and she's playing Sandy, and and then you fall in love in real life. And I think people like to make fun of that because it happens so often, but those emotions are genuine. You know what I mean? There's nothing fake about it. When you're playing best buddies in a movie or on stage and you spend a lot of time together and then you become best buddies in real life, like there's nothing false about that. Those emotions, it's just very intense in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And you have to have a reality check, but it's very, very common
I think it's probably more intense on stage than it is in film or television, because in film or television, but I think the scene in film or television, the experience is only there for a couple of minutes, and then you get a break and you do another take or whatever. But with theatre, it's a couple of hours, and there's the lead up, and you can't break that really. You're there, and that's like, well, it's much higher stakes.
And you don't have 50 crew members all watching when you're on stage. It's like, it's just you and the audience on stage. So I feel like that's more intimate, whereas you were very much aware of the guy holding the boom and everyone on set just watching. And I think the fact that you do take after take,
you reset.
It becomes repetitive, and I think it removes some of that intimacy. I think it's harder then to maintain that level of attachment, take after take. But I agree. I think there is maybe some more buildup in theater. And then again, it's just you alone on stage, and the people that are watching are the audience. It's who you're doing it for.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I've had a lot of instances where I know a lot of people in this business that are desperate for deep human connection, like we were talking about earlier. I really think that's a very, very important thing that people need, and sometimes it's right in front of their face, and they don't see it, because they're drowning in superficiality, and they're desperate for deep human connection. So they jump on the superficiality, thinking that will lead to depth, and it rarely ever does. And then the people that actually have the ability to give them that deep human connection, they usually overlook, because it's not flashy, it's not shiny, it's not pretty, it's not sexy, whatever that may be. You know what I mean? That's probably not even our business. That's probably just life in general. You know what I mean? Like, but I think the people that are available to do that are typically people that get overlooked, or you get excited about the pretty people or the shiny people. It's hard to not get attracted to people's talent.
Absolutely.
It's hard to separate people's talent from their actual being, if you will. You know what I mean?
But there's hype. Hype it's like, it even happens in school. If like there's a girl that is known as the hot girl, and she just gets that label, and all the guys and all the girls, for some reason, I mean, obviously she's very beautiful, but there are other beautiful girls, but for some reason this girl's the hot girl. Mm-hmm. That makes her into a certain thing, whether she feels like that or not.
Yes.
And she might either buy into that and become that and own that, or she might just be an attractive looking person who's actually a whole lot deeper than that.
Yes.
But that hype in general can really change the way someone behaves and how other people feel about them.
It's attraction, or what if the captain of the football team was the best football player, and maybe he's not much of a looker, but his talent increases his potential, and I think people jump on that, and there may not be any depth there. There could be, absolutely, but yeah, I think I find a lot of people in our business, myself included, I've been guilty of it. We're not in the right places. We often overlook those diamonds in the rough, if you will.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's really tough.
It's weird.
Weird.
It's hard. I'll say, as far as television goes, it's hard, especially when you're just on for a day or two on a show.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I'm just going to expect that I'm going to make no connections. Like you're the new kid, especially if it's a show that's been on multiple seasons.
But I think that's smart. I mean, I feel like the danger is like, I'm going to be on set for 1 day or 2 days, and I'm going to become everyone's best friend. Yeah. I'm going to blow everyone away. I'm going to change the world. And it's like, you got to maintain your expectations.
Right. Totally.
Like it's okay to just go in there and do your job.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's how I've become. I definitely started off as because I'm such a people pleaser. I for sure go, and I still go in. Okay, I want to make everyone like me, and I want to knock it out of the park. But I think I'm now wearing the goggles that are like, okay, you're here to work, but I also don't want to be fully just like, I'm here to get in and get out. I make connection as much as I can. But that all depends on the set and how welcoming it is, I think.
Well, what if you were on set for a day and you were playing the lead character's husband, but you were only there? So you have to conjure this incredibly deep, meaningful relationship that doesn't exist.
That you and you're meeting the person
the day, literally, as
you're meeting them at rehearsal on set.
I remember
maybe in the makeup trailer you'll get to chat with them if you're lucky, but otherwise it's like, here you go. You've been married for 15 years and you've all this.
Well, the other thing that's even more odd about these interactions is quite a lot of the time, some or maybe most of the people that are in the cast are kind of emotionally desperate. That's why they've become actors, because they want recognition. You know, they want attention. So they're kind of kooky people as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of trying to navigate that dynamic. Yeah.
And every set is so different though, too. So it is kind of, you have to sit and observe and see, okay, I think I'm going to approach it this way. I think I'm going to interact with these people in this way. And then there are sets that are like, okay, I'm definitely here to just get in and get out. And then other sets that are very welcoming. I think it really depends. But every time you have to kind of read the room.
Do you ever think about giving it up?
Yeah. All acting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year. I mean, I think any dry spell. Yeah. Any time, like last year I had a dry spell of just no auditions hardly. And it's hard for any artist to, I think, maintain that drive and not like go in this downward spiral of like, have I made a huge mistake? And I'm looking at it differently now that I have a family and I'm providing for them. Now I'm like,
changes everything. Yeah.
I got to just find something that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I told John this last year. I was looking into like, I want to get into some old trades, like be a cobbler or a locksmith. And I researched the hell out of locksmiths, and I'm like, that sounds good. Working with my hands, doing,
the Cali custom out.
So yeah, I went as far as signing up for school for this locksmith program.
She claims it was like several $1,000s.
It was not, but I will say it was.
She like she wasn't having it?
Well, I didn't really tell her about it. I signed it up on my phone when I was away. I was actually on set. It was some photo shoot for something, and I was like, I'm doing it. I don't think things through a lot before I pull the trigger. I'm very much like, let's dive in and then we'll figure it out.
I get it.
That's where I was at that place,
I really get where your head was at, because the amount, even if you're getting a lot of auditions, the amount of rejection and lack of fulfillment you get is hard. And when you do something with your hands, you build a table, or I renovated a van and converted a van into like a camper van, and the feeling of satisfaction you get after having a project that is tangibly, physically seen through. Oh God, it's rare in the acting world unless you're actually working. But even then, I totally get it, dude. Like locksmithing, I mean,
you think of everything, man. Like everything goes through your head. Like, how do I?
It's true. Yeah.
Or complete direction change,
because you don't get feedback, right? Like 90% of our job description is auditioning, and you don't get feedback on that. No. The only way you didn't get it is when the shoot date approaches and you haven't heard anything.
You're not there. Yeah.
And you're not there.
Yeah.
I guess
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So there isn't anything tangible.
Nah. And the other thing is, it's so frustrating because you may not have gotten it not because you weren't the best actor. It's because you just weren't the right one.
Anything.
Like if you're the best locksmith, you're probably going to get the job.
Exactly. And
or if you're alphabetically at the top of the list. So.
But that's a great point, because I actually want to
change my name to Aaron Aardvark.
Burkey's pretty good.
J and B.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Bill Burkey from now on.
Bill Burkey.
But I want to speak to the rejection thing, because that term is like the classic term when it comes to acting. And I've stopped viewing it as rejection because I truly don't believe it is, because there are so many factors as to why you get a job or not that are out of your control, that I don't view it as rejection. It's just like, this one just wasn't it. Like you reminded the director of her ex-husband, or, or you look a little too much like the lead, or anything. It's just,
I think there's so much healthier mindset to bring into it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I think where I get tripped up is if I know that it's out of my control. Yeah, I don't care. I get it. You're not going to book every job. I think it's when you start second guessing and you think it's in your control. Like I could have done something different.
Absolutely.
I could have made a different choice. I could have, if they're looking for brown eyes and I have blue eyes, okay, yeah, I'm not going to lose sleep over that. Yeah. But if I was unprepared, or if I did something and because you don't get feedback, you don't know. Did I knock the job because I'm 5'9", or did I knock the job because I
did a shitty audition?
Exactly. And you don't know. You find out. That's frustrating.
Yeah, it's so easy to beat yourself up and go, man, if I'd done something different in the audition, if I'd got that bit right, I would have got it for sure. But you never know.
Yeah. So all you know is, if you walk away from it knowing like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then now it's up to anything else. And I think this is the only feedback you get is if casting directors keep inviting you to audition. I think that's the only feedback we can go off of, is like, okay, you're still inviting me. I get it that you're just trying to put this puzzle together and my piece didn't fit right now, but you're going to save it for later and maybe it'll fit later. They're just trying to put together a puzzle. And I think, once I shifted my mindset to realizing there's so much out of my control, I'm just going to focus on my own work and let that speak for itself. You like it or you don't. And that releases the pressure valve. I think.
On that point you were bringing up, John Boy, about thinking about giving it up sometimes. I want to hear about it. I've definitely thought of that. And I'm at a point now where I've been doing writing. I've been writing scripts to try and create my own work and things that I care about, because I got to this point where I did a movie after I Can Only Imagine, and I was really pumped about it. It was a great opportunity for me. And I was lucky to get that role. And majority of the rest of the cast didn't want to be there.
It's so frustrating.
On set. Yeah, they were just complaining all the time. And it was just like, they were just kind of, not really that interested in. I was like, man, we're making a movie here. This is a pretty gig.
This is magic. Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized, wow, this is what I thought. Granted, I wasn't the lead role, so it wasn't all about me, but I remember I made a decision. I was like, wow, I either have to quit doing this altogether or find scenarios or create scenarios where everyone's on the same page, because this is not it.
Fun.
No, it's like, I was just really blown away with how ungrateful people were.
It's tough.
Yeah. So now I've started, I went, okay, I've got to start writing and I'm putting my energy into trying to create things.
Writing is one of the most fulfilling things an artist can do.
It really is. Yeah.
For me,
it's hard work.
So I think it's great, man.
Yeah. Well, and now being out of LA and you're back home, like what was the draw for that? It was a desire to kind of get out of that setting.
Yes, to be honest, it was. I thought that the most recent year that I was in LA would be where would have the most momentum acting wise, but it turns out that it just got even less. Like, I was getting so few opportunities, and there's a lot of reasons why. One of them is it's not a good time to be an unknown bald white dude in Hollywood. It's just the way it is, like a lot of the roles that I would have normally gone out for are going to other ethnicities, which I think is great for the world. It's just not great for me.
Right. But,
it is, and it's an important thing that needs to happen, but it just means I go unemployed for a while. So that was being in LA where there's not really any opportunities that are happening, or not really very many. I don't like LA. LA's really, it's a really desperate place sometimes. And it's, we were just kind of worn down by it. We came back to Sydney and spent some time on the northern beaches where we are now. And we're like, wow, this is a beautiful place to live. And then back to North Hollywood, we're like, this is not a beautiful place to live. When I walk the dog out the front and there's a crackhead sleeping on a car out the front of my place, and there's people like leaving items of clothing out the front of our building, which means they're marking it to be robbed. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I don't want, my wife's afraid. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a good life for us.
Yeah.
And it's all good and well when there's all these opportunities coming your way, but when they're not, and I wasn't happy in my life, so I wasn't motivated to kind of make the opportunities come my way as much. I was just like, man, we gotta get out of here. What happens if I get hit by a bus tomorrow and I'm spending all my time sitting on my ass in miserable LA?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to mental health. I think it's a good thing. I think it's good that it's 2019 and that we're focusing so much more on mental health. I think it used to be all these subdivisions, and we used to make excuses and call it different things. And I think more and more it's all circling back to mental health. You know, I think people are making decisions based on mental health, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's like the wisest thing you can do for yourself or your family. You know, I think it all comes back to like, this is tearing me up from the inside out.
Yeah.
And I you know, life is short, man. You have to make decisions that put you in a healthy mental state, because poor mental health will lead to everything else that you don't want in your life.
Well, in LA, you see it all the time, and on very different scales. Like there's on the minor scale, you see people who are just like me, who are just kind of like a little bit downtrodden. And I have friends who are actors and had even like far less jobs and experiences than I'd had, and are just kind of sticking it out, but slowly but surely getting worn down. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is people who are either have severe mental health issues, drug addiction issues, or both, and they're homeless on the street. Right. And why are they all there? Why are they all there in California like that? It's a very interesting scenario that they're in. And it's like I often wonder how many of these people came here with a dream and then got chewed up and spat out, and now they're living on the streets trying to get some meth.
We're the opposite. You know, people who have had incredible amounts of success and they've never been less mentally healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's another one. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are living the dream. They've got all the cash, and you hear about these people that are, ticking all the boxes, and they take their own life, or they're in rehab.
Well, it's so frustrating, because I think we all grew up watching movies, reading books, seeing TV shows that you've heard your entire life that money doesn't buy happiness, and success or fame doesn't buy happiness. And you're kind of like, bullshit. You know what I mean? What does Daniel Tosh say? Like, I've never seen anybody frown on a jet ski. You know, like, of course money buys happiness, and it doesn't. I think it can remove some obstacles. You know, I think Gwyneth Paltrow has said some really, really stupid shit over time. But I saw an interview recently with her where she said that all fame and success did for her was remove obstacles from her life. Yeah. Right. The more obstacles that are removed from your life, I think we were meant to face obstacles. Mm-hmm. The less you grow, the less you learn, the less you, and she had a really, really tough conversation with her father, and her father basically called her out and was like, you kind of become an asshole. You know, you have all these obstacles removed from your life, and you get lazy, or you stop learning. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think it just comes back to that mental health thing. Like, I'm sure there are people that are incredibly wealthy and successful, and they've managed to find a way to stay mentally healthy or in the best mental shape they can. And I know people that are destitute, but have a better outlook on life than most people, because they've found a way to figure it out. You know what I mean?
But your surroundings influence your art, whatever it is, or whatever you're pursuing. Like, I think it is important to have your own a gauge of where you are, and like, I gotta get out of this, you know? And like even Callie and I are talking like, I think we want to get out of the city. Like, I think we want to move out and just I was
going to ask you,
breathe. And
you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
How do you find the acting and you know, that kind of world in Atlanta compared to, I mean, have you lived in Los Angeles?
I have. I went to this tiny film school there and didn't try at all. I actually only put forth effort in like a extracurricular acting class. I was at the time pursuing, like, I wanted to be behind the camera, but I didn't know in what capacity. I have a lot of friends out
courses.
They didn't have locksmiths out there, a lot of them. So I was like, not for me.
I love it so much. I love everything.
Locksmithing?
You know, the story about you because it's hilarious, but it's also like really smart.
But you know what? I've thought in that dry spell too. Yes, I would be super bummed out if I didn't act in some capacity for the rest of my life. But also, and I guess now that I have a family and different priorities, I've gotten to a point where I'm now holding it loosely in my hand, whereas before it's like, this is everything. And now I'm like, you know what? I would be okay if I let it go, if I had to. Not that I'm choosing to, but yeah, I think. Yes, while it was a stressful time and, you know, you do start to go down that downward spiral, I think I was encouraged in a weird way, because if that had happened to me, I don't know, like 3 to 5 years ago, I think I would be in a worse spot, because acting was my life. You know, it's like I didn't have anything. I didn't have a good balance before.
Sure.
Of things outside of this business that fulfill me. Anyway, Atlanta is, I think, a great fit for me. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. It's an environment that I really enjoy.
There's a lot of work there, isn't there? There's a lot of
yeah, I'm really hoping the bubble doesn't burst. I feel like so much has been invested here that it's like,
well, I think it's a good thing, because like when the earthquake hits on the San Andreas fault line and California is underwater,
is gone, everyone
will come to Atlanta.
Yeah.
If they survive,
the survivors will go to Atlanta.
Yeah,
that's a show right there.
Yeah. So I have found I think a healthy way of living for myself, like mental health, physical health, everything. Like to me, Atlanta is a great fit to be able to actually work and not be in as what I think a chaotic environment like LA or New York, because I'm easily affected by that. You know, like I'm normally a chipper guy, like outgoing, very hopeful, but I, on the opposite end, can easily despair. I can go to despair real fast if I'm surrounded by despair. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would be in a good place.
Your self-evaluation is on point. You know, like I don't know if you can tell Mark, but he's absolutely glowing. I got to spend yesterday with him and Callie and Simon, and they're such a beautiful little family, and they all love each other, and you seem happy, you seem healthy, you seem, I mean, I love it. I think that's the most thing. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
My shades when I look at you from all the glow.
I've got a sunburn.
Yeah. Shades, man. Yeah. Callie and Simon came into my life at the right time, right before I met you guys. Cause I wouldn't even say I was in a healthy spot when I met you guys.
I was going to say, you sure it wasn't us?
It was. I'm sorry. It wasn't my wife or
it wasn't the Pop-Tarts. It was you. And the whiskey and the hot tub. Yeah.
It was the terrible diet in Oklahoma with you guys. That was it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's of the time, because remember the lake out the front that was frozen.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Where we were in the jacuzzi, and then you jumped in the lake.
The jacuzzi. Wait, who jumped in?
John did.
You did.
Yeah.
There's video somewhere.
So
we would take beers and whiskeys to the hot tub, even though we weren't supposed to. But like,
that's true.
Have you done that before? Like cold immersion stuff before? Because I've been doing it recently.
Yes,
I had like jumping back and forth, like
cold plunge. Yeah, there was a sweat lodge. I think they don't call it a spa because they think a spa sounds too feminine, so they call it a sweat lodge. But there was a men's sweat lodge in Chicago that had a dry sauna, a wet sauna, and they also had a cold plunge. And so you would go get really, really, really hot, and then you would cold plunge, and it was like nothing you've ever felt before. You know, it was incredible.
You've been doing it, Furzy? You've been jumping in the ice waters?
I did some homework on this guy, Wim Hof. Have you heard of him? He's known as the Iceman, and he's got all these world records for being able to spend time under ice and submerged in cold water. And he's able to like regulate his immune system through his mindset and his breath. It's fascinating. And everybody people think that he's a freak, but he actually teaches other people how to do it. And it's purely through breathing. But basically it's a combination of breath work. So you over oxygenate your blood. And then when you submerge yourself in cold, once you've got this over oxygenated blood, that healthy blood rushes to your organs because you're cold, and then your body does that as a survival mechanism. And then it kind of cleans out your organs, and you feel incredible from all this oxygenated blood.
Wow.
And then, you do the slow down your breathing, and it's kind of balancing your fight or flight response from the shock of the cold. Yeah. So, because, you want to do that, it's too cold. So if you can...
We've talked about this, have we not?
We might have.
I feel like we've discussed this.
Yeah.
So you can kind of trick your body by breathing that way.
Yes. If you just, and you do it in a cold shower first, that's how you start. And you just, instead of stressing out and thinking, I can't do this, you're fine. It's not going to hurt you. It's just uncomfortable. So if it's kind of like a mindset challenge at first.
But you have to combine the two. It's a combination of the whole mind over matter plus the actual physical change,
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd started doing it because we've just come into spring here, but we've just come through winter. It doesn't get that cold here, but the ocean, I live by the ocean, and the ocean pool is always colder than the ocean. So I've been doing these cold plunges in the ocean pool, there was one day where it got down to, I think, about 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but
no idea.
In the 40s or so.
Yeah.
The water,
because zero would be 32 degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So 40s. I mean, that's not warm.
And so I was doing that every day, and it was usually about 15 degrees, a little bit warmer than that, but cold, uncomfortably cold.
Yes.
And man, it's a fascinating feeling. I remember thinking about you, John Boy, how you did it that time, and I'd never done it before. And I was like, you're a fucking crazy person. I don't know how you did it, but now since I've been doing it, man, it's a rush. It's a high. It's incredible.
Yeah, you get like endorphins going.
Yeah.
And you're like,
you also have to
feel alive.
What I did was just, with my inhibitions lowered, drinking with my friends, like I just jumped in and jumped out.
So that's the trick.
Well, I think there's a difference between jumping in and jumping out and like sitting in it.
Yeah, well, you try and spend about 3 minutes in
exactly.
it. 2 to 3 minutes.
Between waving your finger over a lighter and like holding your hand over it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference there,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's I remember that.
Yeah. That was great. I was really impressed by that.
Honestly, there was a part of me that was a little upset because I felt, and this is not a slight on anybody that we worked with or anybody in charge, but I definitely felt a little babied and a little pampered.
Right.
Which they kind of have to do, like they don't let me do stunts. They don't let me do this. They don't let me do that. And I knew they wouldn't be happy with it. So it was almost kind of like a rebellious moment.
With actors, they don't let you do anything.
Yeah, that was Olivia Wilde was talking about that. I think with Sam Jones on Off Camera. He's got a great podcast where he interviews different artists. And she was talking about like, why are actors treated like circus animals? I think she said, like, you stay in your trailer, you're in your cage, you have to stay there. And then, okay, come out, do your trick. Okay, all right, now go back. Go back. And it's so true. Like even if you're like walking to the bathroom, where are you going?
Yeah.
The bath, come right back. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. And stay in that trailer. Oh, yeah. Okay. Like, I don't know. It's a weird weird kind of circus animal dynamic to it.
The thing though, I think is like I noticed this too. Obviously, being in Middle America, I was a novelty because I'm Australian. But just being Australian in America in general, we get away with so much. Like, I don't know if it's the accent or what, but I would just kind of like...
It's the accent.
Yeah, maybe.
A lot.
But like I would just... And granted, it's not like I was ever a hot property and they had to really worry about me getting injured that much. But there would just be things where I'd just be like, nah, I'm going outside. Yeah. And you can't...
Yeah, he's got an accent. Let's let him do it.
Yeah. It's like, I'm just going to go I'm going to get some lunch. Where are you going? Where are you going? I'm going over there. I'm going to go.
You definitely treat people how to treat you. Yeah. That's something that I've really come into recently. You know what I mean? Without like getting into it too much. Like, it's hard to learn that you treat people how to treat you. You know what I mean? Within reason, of course.
Yeah.
But I think, it takes time and it takes experience before you can feel confident to not just saying no, but kind of like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Or like, it's cool.
That's getting lonely too.
Yes. It was freezing in the trailers in Oklahoma, so I wasn't going to sit there.
Yeah. John Boy, I wanted to talk about Book of Mormon. You did a lot of performances.
Yes.
Yeah. How many? Do you know?
Well, we do 8 shows a week. And you get basically 2 weeks of vacation. So that's 50 weeks. That's 400 shows a year.
That is mind blowing to me.
Yeah. 3-hour shows. Yeah.
So are you done or are you still going?
I'm done. No. Back to the mental health thing, made a decision with my wife and my family and my mentors and my people that I reach out to, and ultimately decided that staying in London was not going to be beneficial for me. I did a year and they were very kind. They asked me to stay another year. And, my wife and I had just gotten married, and we spent the first year of our marriage in 2 separate continents, and so it would have been another year of that. The show is really, really fulfilling and really, really fun in so many ways. But man, 400 shows a year will crush you. Yeah. And honestly, I thought, will I be okay in 2 months? Yeah. In 6 months, maybe. In 12 months, I don't think so. I don't think so. So, you kind of have to make those decisions. But I think, once again, going back to the mental health thing, I think it's very hard to do that by yourself with no mirror, with nothing to bounce things off of, which is why I think you really have to surround yourself with good people. Your spouse, probably first and foremost, should be somebody that is always pushing you to be a better person, or always encouraging you, or makes you want to be a better person. If your spouse is the type of person that's not helping you make smart choices or mentally healthy choices, it's going to be a long road. And I think, I have great mentors. I have great friends. I don't make a lot of big decisions in my life without talking to parents, mentors, friends, my wife. So I'm lucky to have a pretty good group around me. And so after talking it over with everyone, it's like, it was kind of an easy decision,
And so, did you do 2 years, 1 year?
I did 1 year in New York and then 1 year in London.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
Yeah. And that was right after we wrapped Imagine.
Straight away.
Straight on the plane to New York and started doing it in New York.
That's
But it's one of those things, man. It's like, your whole life you want to be a baseball player, you want to be in the major leagues, and you get to the major leagues, you can't complain that there's too many teams in a season. Yeah. This is what I wanted. This is what I went to college for. This is what I'm drowning in debt for. This is what I dreamed of doing. But just like a lot of things, once you finally get to that point, it's never what you thought it would be, in good and bad ways. In some ways, it was more incredible than I thought it would be, and in some ways, it was like, man, this is not. It's like when a magician tells you how he does his trick or she does her trick. Like, so yeah, man, London was great. I never got to travel much as a kid. I never got to travel. And so getting to kind of gain some culture in my life and be around people that aren't like me, that don't sound like me or look like me or act like me, is really good for you, I think. It can be really strange at times, but I was the only American in the cast. So it was,
oh, wow.
It's me and a bunch of Brits or Europeans or a mix of all kinds of people. I had a blast, man. It was great. I'm glad that I left on good terms. I left in a positive place instead of limping to the finish line, which I think would have happened if I did another year,
Yeah, that was wise to be able to see where it was probably going to head for you emotionally, and be able to go, all right, cool, on to greener pastures and. But
I also told Burkey yesterday. There's also, I know this word's getting thrown around a lot, and I don't always like it, but this particular case, it rings true. Like I had the privilege to say no. You know what I mean? There was a time when I would not have been in a situation where I could have turned it down. I have accepted many, many jobs, acting and non-acting related, that I had no choice but to accept.
Sure.
So I was in a privileged position to be able to turn work down in order to be in a better mental state or to avoid poor mental health. So it's not always easy. And I know a lot of people are not in a situation like that, and I won't always be in that situation, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to have an option.
Did you get, so I can only imagine did really well.
Very well. Sure did.
Like $100 million.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sure it's made over 100 by now with other types of sales.
And the budget was like 7. I think.
Yeah. It made just under 85 million. It was 83 or 84 million. It was projected to make 2 to 2.5 opening weekend. We made 17
opening weekend.
Wow. And then it just kept going. And if you don't count the Narnia movies, then Imagine is like the third highest grossing Christian movie.
Really?
I'm Passion of the Christ and another movie that I never remember the name of and I feel bad about, but it did well, man. We, I knew we had a special project, but you never know that people are going to turn out.
Yeah.
But I think this thing has been brewing for 20 years, Mercy Me, who we really owe all the credit to. They've been touring and they've been setting up this reaction since the late 90s.
Yeah. That song had a following, and I think that was
the band had a following. The song had a following.
That was the hope. I think that the movie would have the same acceptance that the song did, and not just in Christian communities, but just like it had crossover.
Yeah.
When it boils down to it, it's a redemptive story. It's the power of forgiveness, and that
it feels good. It feels good to watch the film. You leave it feeling good about your life. That's a nice experience to have. I can see why people tell their mates to go and watch it.
Right.
Yeah. I think everybody involved in that project did a pretty outstanding job, and I think the numbers show.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just one thing. I think the editing, the cinematography, the writing, I think all of it all came together.
That's not an accident. Like you can't get that many people seeing it without them genuinely falling in love with the thing.
Yeah.
So Did you get a bit famous from that, John?
Yeah. I mean, he was.
You know what? I managed to avoid it.
Right. You were recognized a few times
because I was in London. Yeah.
Oh, right.
It happened. It happened yesterday. When I was at lunch with Buddy. It doesn't happen much in New York, because the obvious reason would be like New York is a very liberal city, and that's not the type of audience that would typically watch the movie that we made. It's also a busy city, and there's a lot of people in that city, so people are used to it. Yeah, the movie came out while I was in London. I think if I were in the States, I think I would have experienced a little bit more of that type of intensity. If I were to walk into a Walmart in the South, I probably would have been bombarded if I were to walk into those, heavily concentrated Christian areas or conservative areas. Yeah, I think it would have been a different situation, but it never happened because I was in London for the whole time. And I think by the time I got back from London, that had kind of died down. And I honestly think that was good. I think knowing myself as well as I try to know myself, I think I don't think I would have enjoyed it. But so ultimately the answer is I don't know. Yeah. But that movie reached a lot of people. So I would say not once a week, but once a month, even in New York, it'll get brought up or somebody will recognize it.
People just sing at you in the street.
Really cool. Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But no one remembers the name and no one remembers, and people are so awkward. You know what I mean? Like they don't know how to approach it. And I've been in that position. You know what I mean? Like the number of people I've run into that I'm like, I don't want to. So it's always like so hilariously awkward. And you learn how to make jokes and you learn how to diffuse the awkwardness because you're an actor. That's what you do for a living. And normal people are not. And they don't know how to not be incredibly painfully homicidally awkward. So you just have to learn how to break the ice, to a point where people
take
just
the lead
walk up to you
on
and stare at you.
Yeah.
And you're like, hi.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't, it's hilarious one experience I had was my father got remarried and they wanted to go on a cruise for their honeymoon, which I thought was a great idea. My wife and I were going on a cruise with Mercy Me because Mercy Me does a cruise every other year called Mercy Me at Sea. And they go to the Caribbean and they're the headline group. It's amazing. It's amazing. They're the headline group.
Well,
so it's 2,000 Mercy Me fans.
Wow.
Traveling to Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and all these places. And so we were invited to join them because the movie had come out that year or the previous year. And so I told my dad and my stepmother, I said, hey, honeymoon on this cruise, because I had actually not met my stepmother because I was in London. So the first time I met my stepmother was on this cruise.
Okay.
That was intense. That was 2,000 Mercy Me and I Can Only Imagine fans stuck on a boat.
There is no escape for you.
You couldn't, we'd be at breakfast in the mess hall, the dining hall. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go get us a refill on water or orange juice. And I'd be back in 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You couldn't. So that was really nice. It was really weird and really cool and really nice. But that's really all I experienced because I was gone and
you're glad. You think it
I think so because I think
it would have been overwhelming otherwise.
You know what? It's like riding a Segway. The first time it happens, it's like, what a cool bucket list thing to check off. You know what I mean? Somebody recognized you from a movie that you did that they saw the big, what a cool feeling.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And then you're like, it's a segue.
And I don't, it's not that I'm trying to discourage people. It's just there's only so many times that can happen. Honestly, I think about Mercy Me. I think about Bart and the guys, they've been on tour for 20 years and I can only imagine how many times.
I can only imagine how many times
somebody, I went on tour with them for a weekend. They let me come hang out for a weekend. And the number of people that just come up to them bawling and crying and wanting to share their stories, which is a beautiful thing. What an incredibly beautiful thing that human beings want to do. I have felt what you felt, or maybe you have felt what I felt, and I want to have this moment together. There's nothing more beautiful than that, trying to share similarities. You know what I mean? That's really what the arts is. When you see a movie and you're like, I've felt that before. I know that feeling, and that's why I'm connected to this movie. But you'd have people come up and be like, hey, my dad died literally 3 hours ago. And I thought the best thing I could do to honor his memory would be to come to this concert. And you're like, what do you say to that? What do you do? And then they want to a picture and they want to have a conversation. And that's one of 500 people that are standing in line waiting to have a similar conversation. They've been doing that for 20 years.
And those boys are, they've been called to, that's their form of service. You know, you can see it in those boys that they really, it's not about them.
And they're not ungrateful, and it's not, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's absolutely draining to do that, to have that, you know, like, you know, if you've ever done like a really, really emotional scene,
right?
It's draining, you know, like you're really, really tired because you're acting and you're portraying a character, but the tears aren't fake. The tears are real. The tears are coming from somewhere. You know, unless someone's dropping drops in your eyes, but like if you're the emotions are real, they're directed in a different way. But these guys, you know, like I can't complain at all because I have only experienced a tiny, tiny fraction of what these guys and many other people experience. Probably
had a lot of intense conversations. Yeah.
So I don't want to sound ungrateful. It's just it's definitely weird though, man. It's weird. Have you guys gotten recognized for the movie? Like, have you had those experiences in this film or other films? Or
I don't know if you've seen the movie, mate, but I'm not really in it.
You're charming as hell. Okay,
Mark got recognized during his polar bear plunge.
Randy gets all the credit.
Yeah.
That jerk. Just says funny things. Like, because you guys are great. You guys are so good in the movie. But Randy just. I love it. I still really keep in touch with Randy. He's a great guy. Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah, he's good. Man. He's so dry too.
So drier than the Sahara.
Yeah.
He didn't he buy an airplane set? That's what I heard. Like an actual movie set, bought half of an airplane.
He bought basically like 2 or 3 seats with the window unit that you could film from a certain angle and it looks like you're on an airplane. And it's literally like in his garage, I think.
I love it.
His wife, who's so sweet, so fun, and so incredible, but his wife has got to be like, what the hell?
I couldn't get away with that.
Yeah, it's so fun.
That'd be fun. Just put that thing in the living room.
Wow.
That's fun. Well, now we got to film something. We got to all get together and shoot something on an airplane.
Oh, all right. Look, should we wrap it up, dudes?
Yeah. Let's do it. We've gone way past time. We're just talking about stupid shit now.
Hey, it's been a real treat to catch up with you, fellas.
Man. We love you. This is a good excuse to chat.
There's absolutely zero pressure on our end to actually turn this into a.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We just want to talk.
Well, see, the good thing is because the power's in my hands, I can edit you to say whatever kind of bigoted things.
Oh shoot!
So
wisely, because
everything's gonna be so out of context. I can't wait.
Yeah, man. It's good to talk to you always.
Likewise, fellas. All right. Well.
All right, buddy. See you.
I'm going to stop recording, and then we can talk off camera.
Okay,
sure.
So that, and say what we really think.
Sure. Yeah. This was all garbage. Yeah.
Hey, see, told you they were good dudes. All right, well, just a little wrap up. Good little insight into the audition process. It's kind of the same situation for everyone, really, and by that I mean that. There is no same situation. You kind of go in and do a role or do an audition or send in a tape or it's all over the place. And then it just comes together. And it's really so much of it is out of your control as an actor. All 3 of us had very different experiences. I auditioned for a different role and John sent in a tape and so did Jason. And then, Jason heard about it last minute, like, you got the role, let's go, come on. Whereas I was kind of sitting, waiting for weeks. So it's all over the shop. If you've seen the movie, you'll find it very hard to believe this is John's first movie role, let alone the lead role. He crushed it. He's super, super good. He's a fantastic actor. Obviously, he's done a lot of theatre, so he knows how to act, but it's a different thing in front of the camera, and he really did a great job. Good on you, John boy. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who has the post-show blues. We can all suffer together after the summer camp, as Burkey was calling it, is over. It's a tough thing. but it's the nature of the beast. It was interesting how much we talked about mental health, and it's interesting how much that is coming up in all of these podcasts. It's called Deep and Meaningfuls, and I want to have real authentic conversations, and it's fascinating just how many times people I talk to, the conversation goes to mental health. It seems that the state of the mental health of the world is in a dark place. I don't know if it's always been like that. I haven't been alive throughout all of time, so I can't really judge, but it seems like we're in a bit of trouble. We've got to turn things around. And I hope that at least talking about it is the start, so we don't feel so alone. We talked a lot about deep human connection and how inherent of a need that is. And at least being able to connect and not feel alone in your feelings is a small step. So the movie did really well, did fantastically well, which is really exciting. Mercy Me, the band, have been around for a long time. They're still going, still playing tons of shows. I got to meet them only once, but man, really lovely guys, and they know what they're doing. They got a bunch of devout fans, and they deserve them because they make some beautiful, beautiful music. All right, that's it for me. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure you share the podcast if you dig it. Trying to reach more people. So if you like it and there's a friend or family member you think might like this conversation, or a fan of the band or a fan of the movie, please share it around. I'd really appreciate it. All right. See you later.